Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy IntroSpecktive. Welcome back to the IntroSpecktive podcast over here on UCast Studios. As always, thank you to UCast Studios for allowing me another platform to have a fun podcast on. Check out all the other great podcasts on here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can get my podcast and all the other great content weekly. Sorry that there was no podcast last week, but if you hadn't noticed, there was a lot going on in America that I was paying attention to, as well as pretty much everyone else. So we're back to weekly uploads now. Thank you guys for being patient. And this is episode number 11, I believe. Episode 11. Thought I'd change up the background today. Instead of Smash, do a little Mario Odyssey speed running. So shout out to it was the Tyrone18 for the sick footage. Super sweet speed run. I've watched this already. Really fucking cool. But yeah, I thought today I would just go do our classic Q&A Twitter style for this podcast. And let's just get into it. Because we haven't done it in a week, and I'd like to get back into talking gaming with you guys. So the first question, I don't even have my stuff prepared. I'm just kind of just winging it here. First question is from Belseb, who says, what is your favorite gaming memory? You probably said what in a video, but I have a memory the size of a fly. I don't think I've really talked about it in detail, but I'd say my favorite memories are from the PS2 days. Final Fantasy X, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Grand Theft Auto, Midnight Club 3, Madden, all those great games on the PS2 really shaped my love for gaming back then. I definitely fell in love with gaming during that era. I mean, I had already loved gaming before, thanks to PS1, N64, Game Boy, Super NES, Sega Genesis. But the PS2 was really probably my favorite console of all time, and it was in my early adolescent years. So I was growing up through middle school and everything, playing a lot of PS2. That was definitely my favorite gaming memories growing up, is playing a lot of PlayStation 2. Dragon Ball Z Budokai was another big thing that I loved to play. Tekken Tag Tournament for sure was another huge game that I loved. Probably my first fighting game love was Tekken Tag Tournament. I played that so unbelievably much. I just love that game so much. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite era, I think, of gaming for me. Yeah, as I've gotten older, obviously there's been a lot of other great eras. The Wii era was also great. Now we have the Switch era. PS4 era was really fun for me. And now PC gaming as well. There was a lot of PC games growing up that I really enjoyed too. Diablo, Warcraft 3, Dota, Maple Story. There was a lot of great stuff. PC games as well that I really had fun playing. Playing what do you call it? Warcraft 3 online was my first big online experience for a long time. I played a ton of Warcraft 3. That was the bulk of my online experience, was playing Warcraft 3 and then playing the original Dota on Warcraft 3. And then I started playing Maple Story and some other MMOs. There was one game called Doofus that I really liked. That was started in France and came over to America for a couple years. It was pretty popular. I never got into World of Warcraft, but yeah, Warcraft 3, Dota, and Maple Story and Doofus for sure. And then I got into League of Legends, which I still play to this day. League of Legends is one of my favorite games. Probably my favorite online game ever is League of Legends. But yeah, so there's been a lot of different eras that I've been a part of. Really, I've been around since the early days of 3D gaming. When the 64 came out, I was around for when the Super Nintendo and stuff, but that was when I was super small, like 3 or 4. So it wasn't necessarily my era. I started really playing video games in the PS1 64 era. So that was probably my first era of gaming. And then Yeah, like I said, the PS2 was really where it took off for me. I actually didn't even have GameCube because I played PlayStation 2 so much. Um, I was more of a Sony fan as a kid than a Nintendo fan, even though I loved the 64 and I loved games like Banjo-Kazooie and Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and all those games. Obviously, I really grew up with the PS2 era. So Sony was my favorite thing growing up, which makes me incredibly sad that I wasn't able to get a PS5 pre-order, because I've always loved Sony, and I really eventually want to get a PS5 for sure. So yeah, thank you so much for that question. Definitely PS2 era would be my favorite. Let's see. Rai Kaizen says, favorite genre when it comes to video games? I've always loved JRPGs. JRPGs are definitely my favorite genre. Final Fantasy is like my favorite franchise. Dragon Quest, obviously. I love games like Pokémon. Any just kind of RPG, where you're in the shoes of the characters and you're going through a story and you're on the journey with them. Those are my favorite kinds of games. I just love I just love stories in games. Stories are a huge part of games for me. I love games like Mario and these games that don't necessarily have a oh, this is sick. He just flings himself right onto the bench. But yeah, there's games like Mario and shooters and League of Legends and stuff that I love to play, obviously. But like my favorite thing about games is the stories. So JRPGs naturally, have some of the best stories in any form of media, in my opinion. I think Final Fantasy X is like the best story ever told. Like, it's not a movie, it's not a book, it's not a TV show. It's a video game. I think that there's a lot of incredible stories told through games, and another thing that makes a lot of these games great is the music and the characters and the gameplay. A lot of people don't like turn-based combat. I personally love turn-based combat, especially when it's done right. I think Final Fantasy, during like the golden age of Final Fantasy, really nailed it. So like 6 through like 10 really just nailed turn-based combat. If you want like quintessential turn-based, that to me is as good as it gets. Same with Dragon Quest. Obviously, Dragon Quest also has fantastic turn-based. But I really liked Final Fantasy VII Remake's action RPG elements, and I thought that they really nailed that too. I didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as other action RPG games like Final Fantasy XII and Final Fantasy 15. I wasn't as fond of turn-based, 13 as well, but once it hit its stride and it got to 7 Remake, I think they really nailed it, and I actually really prefer it now. And I still get my turn-based from Dragon Quest. So for me, as a JRPG fan, it's a great time to be alive. There's just so many great franchises within the JRPG library. Like I said, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest. You have stuff like Earthbound and Mother 3. You have stuff like Chrono Trigger. I mean, there's so many fantastic games, and like the thing is like Persona, obviously, as well. There's just so many great stories, so many awesome characters, so many memorable moments and musical tracks and everything. Every JRPG you play is going to, follow a similar formula, but it's going to be a different experience every time. And I've never met someone who, has the same like top 5 JRPGs as I do. Like everyone has different tastes, and it's because there's so many different elements and stories to tell and all these things that one game might resonate with someone personally more than another game. Like for example, I really resonate with Final Fantasy VIII because I like the main character Squall, and then a lot of people don't really like Squall that much, but they really like Cloud, and I don't really resonate with Cloud as much as them. But that's just what makes the JRPG so awesome, is that it's a genre that you can not only enjoy like really high quality gameplay and really well crafted design and everything, but you can also like personally resonate with the games and have like an emotional connection, as well as like, oh, this is really fun, I really enjoy playing this game challenged me, and I had a blast playing it. It's a genre of game that 10 years down the road, it still sticks with you in like a special way because you remember that story and you remember the characters and what they went through and the music. And when you hear the music again years later, it fills you with a nostalgia of, you know, the time when you played it. And there's just so many like magical things about JRPGs that I love. And I just love like fantasy elements as well. Like you can really do whatever you want with a JRPG story. You know, you can make it, you know, classic medieval fantasy. You can do space, or you can do, you know, the future, or, you know, modern day. It doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want, and that's what makes the genre so cool. It's so diverse, and I know a lot of people don't really like some of the cornerstone elements of JRPGs, like grinding and, you know, running through wild areas that have a lot of encounters and stuff like that. But for me, that's like just part of the genre. It's part of what I love to do. I love to grind. I love to get my party up to the highest level. I love to get every weapon. I love to do every side quest. Like I just love JRPGs, and it will always be my favorite genre of game. I don't ever see that changing. I feel like we've pretty much seen, you know, the majority of what games are going to be like for a very long time with in terms of you know, genres. So I hope that the JRPG genre continues to really impress me. I'm really looking forward to Final Fantasy 16. If I can get a PS5, that is. Really looking forward to Dragon Quest 12 because that has been confirmed to be in development already. Yeah, I love the genre, and I always cannot wait to play more. Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2, I can't wait for as well, because Final Fantasy 7 Remake was definitely my favorite game this year. That and Ghost of Tsushima, which is also a great game. So yeah, JRPGs for sure are forever my favorite genre. Other genres that I really enjoy, I really like MOBAs. MOBAs are always fun for me, and I really like 3D platformers like Mario, Banjo-Kazooie, all that good stuff. So you know, Mario Odyssey was my favorite game over Breath of the Wild the year that it came out. And yeah, I mean, obviously adventure game style games too, like Zelda, are really fun. But for me, like the JRPG just has everything that I really enjoy about video games, for sure. So thanks for that question. Lil J says, thoughts on this new Pokemon Masters Collection leak? Okay, before I get into this isn't like confirmed. It's just a rumor. But there is like a rumor that there is going to be a Pokemon Master Collection in the same style of 3D All-Stars, where you're going to get Pokemon Red, Pokemon Gold, and Pokemon Ruby as a Switch, on Switch. And, you know, it's looking like it's probably going to be a normal price game. It's going to be a collection game. Apparently it's going to be synced with Pokemon Home. And I think that this is awful. If this is actually happening, I think that this is horrendous. I'm not paying no $60 for 8-bit Game Boy ports onto my Switch. I don't care if it's the only way that I can play them on console. I don't care. It's not worth it. To me, that is not worth it. I struggled to, you know, justify buying 3D All-Stars, and I still think that was overpriced. I think that should have been a $40 game. So you can imagine what I think about some Game Boy ports. I would not pay more than $15 for that, and the only reason I would pay $15 is to compensate for the effort that it would take to manufacture and ship out the product to all these stores worldwide. That's literally the only reason I would pay that amount of money for it. I don't think I would, you know, consider Game Boy games to be worth $60 these days. Yeah, I really can't see how that's worth buying. If it's real. I don't know if it's real. I doubt it's real, because in the leak there was a lot of like typos and stuff. I haven't heard it from any other source, but it's making its way around Twitter. I even talked about it on Twitter today. And yeah, I don't really know, but if this is another you know, Nintendo port offering collection, it's it's most likely going to be limited release once again, and we all know how people feel about that. And yeah, I just don't understand why, if they're actually doing this, why it's Red, Gold, and Ruby and not Fire Red, Crystal, and Emerald. I mean, obviously, if you want to take it one step further, you can do the Heart Gold, you can do Heart Gold and Omega Ruby, but like, I feel like they want to keep it classic with this collection if that's what they want to do. So I mean, you can keep it to the classic, you know, upgrades, I guess you could call them. Fire Red. Well, Fire Red's a remake, but it's still classic, still Game Boy Advance. And then, or Game Boy Color. Was it Game Boy Advance or? It was definitely Game Boy Advance, right? Yeah. And then, and was it? Or was it Game Boy Color? I can't remember. Let me know in the comments which one it was. I can't remember which one it was. But, I mean, Emerald was obviously Game Boy Advance. And then, so was Gen 3. So, yeah, I think that would be more justifiable. I mean, those are higher quality games than the originals. I mean, so... I meant to say Crystal and Gen 3. Sorry, Emerald is Game Boy Advance, and then Crystal is was on Game Boy Color. So yeah, Crystal would be cool to have over Gold because then you could have all the Pokemon, and then same with Emerald. And then Emerald had a lot more like challenging elements to it and a lot more like side quest stuff. And then Fire Red also was like a more complete version of Red. So yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't go with those. I don't know why they would go with like the original, because Gen 1 is awful. Like if you're literally gonna port the original Gen 1, like that game is a mess. Like there's so many things that like just scream like, hey, this is the first game and like we didn't really know what we were doing yet. We just had this awesome idea, like we executed it, you know, good for the time, amazing for the time. But then once all these other Pokemon games came out, you really start to see all the flaws in Gen 1, and you can see like why we fixed everything. So I don't know why they would go with the original Red. Like it's a pretty bad game. It has not aged well at all. Like at all. It has actually aged quite poorly. I'd say Gen 2 has aged well, because Gen 2 really like stepped up its game. I still think Gen 2 is like in the top 3 Pokemon games of all time. I think the remakes are better, and I think Gen 3 is better, and then like that's it. Like I think those are like the top 3, and then right after that is Black White 2. But yeah, I really don't see why they would look at their roster of games and be like, yeah, Gen 1 would be the one that we want to sell for $60. Red version. Exclusively, not even yellow, not even Fire Red. We're doing Red version. So you know, I doubt it's real because there's going to be some serious backlash. If that's the case, like some serious backlash, especially if it's a $60 game. Oh, but you can play it on Switch. Oh, but you can link it to Pokemon Home. I don't care about Pokemon Home. I really don't. I don't think that that justifies the price of a modern game, especially with with PS5 coming out and these games, albeit are now $70. Like just look at the amount of effort that's going. Have you seen Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Demon Souls remake? Like they're insane. Like so, I'm not paying $60 for 8-bit Game Boy games on my Switch. I'm just not. I don't even know why they would sell that as a collection. Why not just throw them on the eShop? If they're literally just ports of Game Boy games, why can't you just throw them on the eShop for $10 each? You know, even I feel like that's fair. You can buy a couple, $20 on the eShop, just get a couple ports. That would be fine. I still think that would probably be overpriced, but you know that they wouldn't. You know they would charge as much as they possibly could because it's Pokemon and everyone's going to buy it. And I feel like people are going to buy this. Like I feel like if it's real, people are going to buy it. And Nintendo is just going to continue doing what they're doing with this garbage, limited release port collection set that has like nothing bonus about it. Like 3D All-Stars, really, it was just the games. It was just the games and that was it. Like there was nothing different about them. There was no like really bonus features, like nothing that made it special. And this actually segues perfectly. Excuse me. This actually perfectly segues into the next question from Sean, who says, "What's your opinion on ROM hacks?" Now, I like to support companies. First and foremost, let me get that out of the way. If I have the chance to, I'm going to support the company for their hard work. It's you know, it's the right thing to do. Especially if it's a quality product, I'm going to financially support them for it. But when it comes to Game Boy games, like, those are extremely hard to get into these days. I mean, like, if you weren't around for like the Game Boy era and you want to play like Gen 2, for example, you'd have to go find a Game Boy, which, you know, are expensive because they're collector's items now. Then you have to find a hard copy of the game, which again is expensive because they're collector's items now. That's gonna run you at least like that can be up to like $100 to even to be able to play Gen 2. Like, to find a Game Boy that someone is selling, you know, because people sell these things for like $50, and then the games are like, I've seen them go for like $30, and then say, you know, all the shipping fees and everything to get them sent to you. Like, you know, that's gonna have you spending like toward $100 just to play one game, and then if you want to play Gen 3, you're gonna have to spend another, you know, $30 to get Gen 3 or even more, like, because people are selling them for resale value now. So when it comes to that, I don't think that emulating games is the worst thing in the world, especially since, you know, Nintendo doesn't really rely on the the Game Boy anymore. All of this stuff is resale now, so even if you bought a hard copy of the game, like, you're not supporting Nintendo. You're buying it to, you know, support someone else's pockets. So you're not even like supporting Nintendo by buying an old, you know, Game Boy Advance or a copy of Pokemon, because they don't sell them anymore. They don't directly sell these things anymore. So you're not even directly, you know, supporting Nintendo. So I don't think there's any problem with emulating a game like Heart Gold or like you know, Ruby, but I think that's like the way that most people are going to continue to do it, instead of having it on this collection, because it's free. It's free. If you have a computer, you can get an emulator, and you can find a ROM website and download the game for free. I mean, and again, I don't really feel like it's like the worst thing in the world to do, because if you buy a Game Boy or a copy of Ruby, it's not even going to Nintendo. So I think that if you have no interest in collecting these games and these consoles, like, obviously there's people who love to collect all the handhelds and all the games and everything, and that's why they're sold for the amount that they are. It's because they have resale value. It's because they're collector's items, and, you know, it's not the port that has value. The game itself doesn't have value. It's the physical copy of the game, because you can play the game wherever. It's more like having a physical copy. That's what you're paying for. So I don't think that there's anything really wrong with you know, emulating like old games like that. I think if you're gonna like try to emulate, you know, Switch games or something, then yeah, I think that's terrible, because the Switch is Nintendo's current system. They're obviously still selling Switch games. You should go out and buy a copy of that game, or, you know, any kind of modern game, and you try to emulate that. But I don't really feel like there's any issue with emulating an old game like Pokemon, because, like I said, it's just Nintendo doesn't rely on it anymore. They don't directly sell it anymore. You're not supporting them financially. So that's it. That's really it. I don't really feel bad about emulating Pokemon games. So thank you for that question. And finally, King Damn Don says, do you think you would have gotten this far into YouTube, or do you think you wouldn't have gotten the attention you have when you created the channel? I hoped that I would have gotten this far, because it was my dream to be like a YouTuber for a living. I really wanted to do YouTube full time, so I worked really hard. I posted videos every day for a long time, and I'm really glad that I got to where I was. But no, I didn't think I would get this far. I thought it was like a pipe dream, honestly, and you know, I believed in my abilities and my determination to, or if I didn't, I would never have tried. But I feel like I'm really lucky to be in this position, very blessed for sure, and I don't take it for granted at all. Your support means everything to me. Everything that I have in my life, I have through YouTube. So yeah, thank you guys so much for allowing me to continue to do this, because it's really important to me, and it means the world. It really does. And you know, I always thought that I wanted to do this, but I didn't know if I was going to be able to, and I'm so glad that I'm able to. One more question. This isn't related to gaming. I just thought it was funny. Durian Ace Defective says pineapple on pizza or not. I'm not against pineapple on pizza. Like I'm not gonna like frown upon you if you like pineapple on pizza, but I personally do not like pineapple on pizza. I don't understand like I really don't understand the appeal of like something sweet on pizza. I'd prefer like pepperoni and sausage, or like onions or mushrooms or peppers if I'm gonna have, you know, some sort of vegetable on it. But definitely not pineapple for me. But if you order pineapple on pizza in front of me, it's not like I'm going to be disgusted. I'm just not going to want to eat any of it is all. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to today's podcast. Appreciate it. Go ahead and hit like if you enjoyed. Please leave a comment if you enjoyed as well. It really helps build the channel. And most importantly, please subscribe to UCast Studios so you can get all of our weekly content on here. Appreciate you guys as always, and I'll see you next week for episode 12. Have a great day. Deuces.